Welcome to Healing Family Patterns. My name is Lauren Saracione. I'm a 20-year fitness professional, creator of Pilates Barbell Club, and expert trainer at Binge Habit Loop. This presentation, we're going to cover a few things. So first of all, I'm going to share with you the Diamond Christos perspective and how your physical body acts as a particle and a wave, and also how your sacred geometric form gets stuck to pain. And then we're going to get into how to actually break these family patterns. So how to notice a core wound, how to forgive the person projecting it, and then how to communicate with the wounded inner child of the projector. Welcome to your form. You are a photon of light, which means you are a little packet of information from the great Son of God. And the Diamond Christos perspective is also called Christ consciousness. And you can see here, Jesus, or Yeshua, was here to teach Ascension, which means that we can connect to God by way of the Son of God in our physical form. So that means that we don't have to be without our body to feel that divine connection to Source. Now, if you look at Yeshua's halo around his head, it is a representation of a photon of light. And there are spiritual metaphors all over the world, especially from Yeshua's teaching, that let us know how quantum physics works with the sun and photons of light, which is information, and with the heart or the earth vibration, and as the will of God or our divine child to then direct all of this information in our human experience. Now, the Son of God is the Christos or Christ consciousness, and it is our sun for this universe. The Son of God is the offspring of the central sun, and the great central sun is what all of the cosmos and all the galaxies rotate around. And in fact, we're closing in on a cycle, which is exactly why things are so crazy in the world right now. We are in an energetic civilization shift because of where our galaxy is finishing its rotation around the great central sun, which is the grand creator, full God of everything. And this is a representation of what Yeshua would teach, how Jesus, the body, or Yeshua's body, our physical body, is then connected to Christ consciousness, which is connecting to the Son of God. And this is a literal perspective because the sun has information in the photons of light that emanate off of it. And it's that Christ consciousness, or the Diamond Christos, that then connects us to the grand central sun, which is the God of everything. And so you can see over here on the left of your screen what these physical forms represent in quantum physics, in spirituality, that connects us to God while we still have our physical body. And the main takeaway here is that we are never disconnected from source energy, and we connect through the physical body of our heart and our mind, and bringing our inner child, our physical form, along for the ride. I blew up the image so that you could see it really clearly. First, we have the grand central sun of God. Then we have the Christos, or Christ consciousness. I am the way, the truth, and the light. And then we have the physical representation of Jesus, or Yeshua. And then we have the threefold flame. So if you see in that image of Yeshua, or the representation of our physical body, we have the ability to tap into the male and female aspects of God, the divine energies of mind, frequency, and emotion, heart. And the yellow flame is our divine inner child, the will of God that gets to tell everything around it what to do. Because if you've studied anything about quantum physics, what we have found out is that wherever the scientist assumed or thought the electron would appear, that's where it would appear. So that tells us that photons of light that act as a wave and a particle are directed by conscious thought. deliberate thought, which is your inner child, the will of God. And then here's a beautiful picture. This is a photon of light acting as a particle in a wave taken in 2015. And metaphorically speaking, and this is all very paradoxical because we are everything and nothing all at once. And one singular subject can mean several different things depending on the context of what we're talking about. And in this instance, the light is mind for frequency, the wave is emotion for vibration, and the particle is our physical body. Now that you know you are not just the person sitting in front of this presentation, not just your body, and not just your pain, we're going to begin. This is an example of what your field may look like. Everybody has different interpretations of it, just like everybody has a different interpretation of every single thing in the physical plane. Every interpretation using our five senses. So when we elevate our consciousness and elevate our vibration, meaning we do this shadow work and we clear out old painful memories and have forgiveness and all of that inner work, we may have a different perspective as we think about things that are beyond the physical body. And this is a representation of it. So this may or may not be what your field looks like. Now, I'm not going to go in too much to all of the sacred geometric shapes, but they all do mean something as a representation of how we move through these experiences through life. The thing that I want you to focus on the most about this is the toroidal field. So every organism has a toroidal field. You can look it up on DuckDuckGo. And to me, what happens is we have the big quantum field where everything is. So everything that's surrounding you, all of your experiences when you're on a plane, you're moving through the quantum field. And then we all have our own field because we all have a heart that emanates vibration. And we all have a mind that projects thoughts and picks up thoughts, so frequencies and information that are in the field. So we can actually create our own field in which people cannot, come into, especially as an empath. You don't let people's energy into your field. So the toroidal field is a really important concept to grasp, and it does actually look like this little, like an apple shape, right? How it dents at the top and dents at the bottom. This is a very real occurrence in your body. And so what happens is when we form attachments, positive or negative, our field gets stuck on another aspect of another field or the big surrounding field. When we form an attachment, what we're doing is keeping a piece of ourself stuck. And the field is always moving, just like our breath is always moving. So when we make a decision and we say, this is exactly it, whatever it is, and we don't let ourselves leave that train of thought or that feeling, then this toroidal field that is made to be moving and loose and allow us to glide through our experience gets stuck. So then it's kind of like, like when you have your hair in a tie and what you really want to do is unloop it versus just pull on it. Because if we pull on it, our hair often gets stuck inside these little loops, right? And so when we form an attachment, positive or negative, we are locked into a certain way of being. And the nature is to move and to grow. The nature is to eventually take your hair out of the ponytail. So if you are ripping the ponytail out because you're keeping it attached to your hair, it's going to be painful. Versus consciously, okay, let me feel a loop to try to unwind it out of my hair. Same thing with emotions. So I'll give you a positive example. A couple weeks ago, I was on the couch and I'm looking down my body and I could see my underwear because my jeans were puffed up, my jean shorts. And I was like, why am I wearing clothes that don't fit me? And then I realized, I bought these shorts when I had stopped binge eating and I ate for my performance, for my powerlifting hobby. And that meant that at that stage in my life, I was no longer attached to food and I trusted myself around food and I used food for my body. And I felt really proud of my body that I had overcome that stuff and that I was confident in it without having to be on a diet. So I'm looking at my pants, and it took a couple days for me to realize, like, why is it like that? Why is it like that? I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a positive attachment to these clothes that I haven't even noticed that they don't fit me properly. And what happened then, if you follow me on social media or you're on my email list, you'll know that I have been tracking macronutrients to learn how to get leaner within the limitations that I have for my constitutional acupuncture eating list, in which I eat to support my intestines and my lungs, my weakest organs. So my food list is really limited, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get used to eating these foods to keep my organs healthy. And when I get used to it, I'm going to hire one of my friends to help me learn about macros because I want to be lean. So I've been focusing on my macros and learning what to eat so that I can get the aesthetic and have a nice energy balance, to have energy throughout my day. When I realized that I had a positive attachment around celebrating self-trust with my body, when I made that connection that I had formed an attachment to my clothes based on that positive feeling, I thought, oh, I think this means it's time to go up another level in self-trust, in which I've spent many, many months learning how to eat for my organs and learning how to eat for my aesthetic, that now it's time to stop tracking and really listen to my body because I worked the skill set long enough. So we can have positive attachments. We usually just feel a negative attachment because we loop in our head and we replay an event that we've had that was painful. And we kind of replay it because it's the devil we know. So it's a confirmation of identity where we understand vibrationally and chemically who we are, because the emotional state has to do with the vibration in the field, right? That wave. And it has to do with our biology of what our mind is secreting in molecules of emotion. If we don't have an identity, we don't know who we are. We need to have an identity. It's also called ego. Ego is not necessarily that bad. We kind of need it in this third dimension so that we can differentiate of our likes and our dislikes as this unique, gorgeous extension of the will of God. So this is how I see how the field gets us stuck and causes pain. Now let's get into it, because now we're going to start breaking down these family patterns, okay? So like I said, that there are vibrations in the field. That's the wave, right? The divine feminine aspect of God. This is a representation of how we measure those vibrations. We have an upward ascension spiral of emotion that makes us feel good and lighthearted. And then we have a descending spiral, downward spiral of emotions that make us feel bad. So heaven's up here, hell is down here. It's all here in the earth experience. What we want to do first is to be able to recognize a core wound, is do the inner work for ourselves first. So you want to look at the downward spiral, and you can Google this also to pull up another chart. There's all different kinds of charts. I have one that's just a list. You want to take some time to get into your body so you can feel it. Because the feeling sensation in your body, the lump in your throat, the uneasiness in your stomach, the stiffness in your back, all has to do with your vibrational frequency. And the good news is it's already defined for us. We just get to look for the measurement of it. So for me, I had a big family pattern vibration that was projected generation after generation of neglect and rejection. So what you're going to want to do is close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, and then slowly breathe in for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And as you have that slow breath, what you're doing is letting your heart know you are physically safe, because now you're in the heart of Yeshua, and we can connect to that Christ consciousness of the Son of God, which then is our connection to full God. right? I am the way, the truth, and the life. It's all in here, connects straight up. So when you're in this position, position emotionally, and you're feeling what you feel, and you have the intent that, you know what, I'm willing to look at my sadness. And if you can feel something in your body, and then use this chart or go to the thesaurus and look up different emotional words and look up the antonyms and look up the synonyms, then you can find the vibrational aspect of the core wounds that you received from your family members. Because it is not your family members who did these things to you. It is quantum physics. It is how it works. It is learned behavior. So once you find that emotion that you can identify, like I've identified neglect and rejection, what's the opposite emotion? Care and acceptance. How do I feel care and acceptance for myself? How can I be the person that I needed someone else to be and give me the care and acceptance? And then that's what you start to give your inner child. And that's what you start to do with your physical body. Because you just made the mental awareness, you connected with your heart. The last thing in quantum physics is the particle. Your body's the particle. You have to bring your body into the same state as your mental state and your emotional state and nurture the emotion that you really needed to have from that person who wounded you. This is a little bit of a clearer picture of the toroidal field. And so I just put this in here to remind you that the person who is projecting that core wound that you just did your inner work around is stuck. And so if you look at this heart position, our heart has the capability to feel all the emotions, from the deepest hate to the most blissful joy. And the heart is what creates the field. And when we are in a high vibration or one of those heaven emotions, the upward spiral, our field expands. It's an expansive emotion that feels free. And then when the field is expanded in that higher vibration, quantum physics, the law of attraction, has a better ability to attract things to you that are pleasant from further distances. Now, when the heart is in a low vibration because it is sad and it is wounded and there are walls up in the heart, information can still shoot out of it. And the person who is in that low vibrational state giving you the family pattern, their field is small, congested, and stuck. And so I just want you to look at that from this perspective, because they are a divine child of God. They're a wounded child of God. And that's the only way they're able to cause pain for you. So this is this beautiful divine child of God that we all are. And so we practice forgiveness because we understand how this all works when we are unconsciously learning information as we're children based on what is done to us. Because then we grow up and we're like, oh, that's how we're supposed to do life. Or we have these wounds and something happens to confirm the wound. And the wounded inner child then acts in parallel or in unison with the thing that's coming at them. So you could trigger someone with your love and kindness and your ability to understand how this works and not get upset by them. And if you're not giving them what they need in the wound, right? So if there is a neglect behavior and you are okay with being neglected, that's going to probably really upset the person because they kind of want to be able to neglect and push you away. So your happiness may be very triggering because now you are no longer part of the pattern. And so they're stuck creating the pattern all on their own by projecting and like being passive aggressive and pushing and pulling on you. And so the key is to go back to remembering, okay, I'm a photon of light. This is quantum physics. Yeshua was teaching this. This is why Yeshua would say, forgive them, they know not what they do. Because this is not something that we No. Like nobody teaches us this like we're taught to brush our teeth. So when we're in this state of forgiveness, we've done the inner work for ourselves to understand what emotion we need to give to our divine inner child. And we realize that a person is just stuck, their toroidal field is just stuck. And then we get to say, wow, you know what? This person is inflicting this pain onto me. They must be really hurting, because all this is telling me is that they don't have the opposite high vibration experience within themselves. Because if they did, quantum physics wise, be impossible for them to inflict this pain on you, because you can only inflict what you are. You can only be what you are. And when you're in a high vibration of these heaven emotions, the upward spiral emotions, you ain't gonna play with all that shit. So if you have that maturity in your head that the person is completely unaware of all of this, and you understand what they need is to be accepted. What they need is to be cared for. If you're finding the similar vibration with me of neglect and rejection. And if you could start to look at people as a divine child of God that is unknowingly acting in wounded behaviors, you will feel so much better. When you feel better, the molecules of emotion that secrete from your brain are going to be growth molecules and health molecules, not stress and histamine molecules. And your body will get healthier. And then finally, short and sweet, right? Finally, if you want support with this, just download the Voxer app and look for me, Lauren Saracione, and I will add you to the support group where we just kind of keep in touch and maybe bounce around some emotions to see what type of vibrational state you might be in, that you need a little bit of support, or some heart storming or brainstorming of, describe to me how you feel right now. Okay, to me, this would be me coaching you for free, would be, this is how it feels. This is what it seems like to me. I think it's this vibrational level. How can you feel the opposite vibration? How can you nurture that in yourself? And then slowly but surely, the painful baggage, memories, and behaviors that you might even be exhibiting right this very second will start to go away. Okay? Mwah! I love you, and I look forward to seeing you in the chat.